Hi, my name is Craig Freeman, and I'm a sophomore at North Carolina A&T State University. I'm a transfer sophomore, and to clarify something, I want to apologize in advance because I have an accent. You probably hearing it right now, and there are certain words I might say you might not understand because of my accent. I want to apologize in advance, but if you have any problem with this video, you can just shoot me an email. I can remake it or clarify certain things through email that you don't understand. But back to the conversation, not conversation, but back to what I was saying. I apologize. Um, we received a circuit kit from Dr. Holmes, and so we're gonna be talking about one thing on the circuit kit that intrigued us. So basically, intrigue is not even the word I was looking for, but that's the only word that could come to my head. So basically, what really interests me about this whole project we did, or this whole work we did, was the breaker. But before I get into the breaker, one thing I have to say, okay, let me show you my circuit kit to make sure it's working. Is right here, is lit right now, and here's the breaker. Once I hit this right here, the light goes off. I do that, it come back on. But back to the conversation. But back to what I was saying. One thing that really interests me is the breaker, but I cannot explain the breaker. With the breaker, talking about the circuit as a whole. So circuit is basically a flow of electricity from the power source to whatever you're trying to like allow the electricity flow through. Um, yeah, so basically, if you really think of circuit, the closest thing that comes to your mind when you think of shapes and stuff, you think of a circle. You know how it goes round and round and round and round. There is like an infinite loop of roundness. There is no spaces in between. It's the same way as a circuit. So, in order for the circuit to work, you need a power source, and you need whatever you need to connect it to. But in order for me to explain what intrigued me the most, which is the breaker, is so basically the electricity flows from the battery to the light. Yeah, from the battery, which is the power source, to the light. So the only way the electricity gonna be stopped unless you have a breaker. Yeah, this is where it comes in play. Okay, so though, because it's called a circuit, it means there cannot be no spaces in between the power source and the light. So it's like if there is any gap, it means the power source will not reach the light. And without a breaker, there will be infinite electricity going through as long as the power source have enough electricity in it to continue the loop. So basically, it's almost like the power leave the power source and you get to the bed to the not it get to the light, and it goes back to the it recycle back to the battery, just like that, just going over and over and over, as long as the battery have some source of electricity in it. But then this is where the breaker comes in play, because the breakers is what is like the gap. It's almost like a circle. Once there's a circle, it's gonna keep going around, keep recycling over and over until there's a gap in between. And once the gaps get in between, it's like a train on the track, right? So it's almost like a train on the track. As long as railroad, the train gonna keep going, until the road comes to an end. That's where the train stops. So basically, it's the same way. So the breaker is like that low, the gap between the flow of electricity from the power source to the content you want powering. So that's how it's like. So now that's what really intrigued me the most, which is the breaker. So now the current gonna keep flowing from the power source to the breaker, from the breaker to the light, and it recycle back to the battery. So that's how it goes over and over until the battery loses its power. But now the most interesting thing that I really that I understood from this project was the importance of having the breaker. Now once I pull this up, it create a gap in between the light and the battery and the power source. In other words, it create a gap between the light and the power source. So right now, all the power from the battery keep going to the breaker and flowing right back. It's just right, it's circulating right. It's not reaching to come across to the light. So now once I put the breaker back down, the light comes back on. Now the gap has been closed. So yeah, that's what really intrigued me most about this whole project. And it was really a life-changing experience, because I also learned that This is how it is in everything around us. The cars we drive, the phone I'm recording on right now, the lamp I'm using, and even the house. This is how it is. Like, because even though this might look like a little small project or like a little mini thing that have no meaning to it, but that's how everything works around us. Everything that use electricity, this is how it works. Yeah, so that's why really intrigued me, because the breaker play a very important part in everything we do. Because without the breaker, there will be no way to stop electricity. It's just gonna keep flowing from the power source to the content that need to be turned on. So yeah, that's what really interests me, how powerful a breaker can be when it comes to conducting electricity. Yeah, and thank you and have a good day, sir. Whew.